This is Pod Populi, podcasts for the people.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to the FemForce podcast. Today, I am so excited because I get to be joined by Jocelyn, who is a sexual integrity coach, digital nomad, and a workshop facilitator. She helps individuals and couples create deeply connected, honest, and empowering relationships. She's had 15 years of experience as a sex educator and 5 years as a full-time coach, which is just such a cool job to have. She's rewriting the narrative. So around sex, shame, authenticity. And she's had a deeply conservative lifestyle where she was once living that. And she went on a personal journey that we're going to talk about. And now she helps not just herself, but others, to get away from the secrecy and the shame and have this sexual liberation, which is going to be such a cool topic to talk about. So thank you so much, Jocelyn, for being here. I'm excited to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
So your journey has been really layered. You were raised Catholic and you were once, living a really deeply conservative life. How did you go from that kind of upbringing to becoming a leader in sexual empowerment?
Oh, yeah. So, thank you so much for that introduction. And by the way, I call myself a sexual empowerment coach, but I feel like sexual integrity coach works really well too. So I love
we can do both. We love that. I'm rebranding. I'm branding along as we're going here.
Yeah. Well, you know what, Rachel, my journey has taken so many twists and turns and ups and downs, and it's so interesting because I feel like I've gone through many sexual empowerment journeys in my life, and I'm currently going through another one right now. And it really just feels like you're killing parts of yourself to be reborn. And I had to do that a million times, I feel like, from the time that I was, a child till now. But it really started when I was 18. I went to college. I had my first boyfriend and we had sex, and he was such a sweet, tender guy. Like, he lit incense and candles, and we listened to Bauhaus because we were really gothy at that time. And
we all have it.
Yeah, goth phase. And my eyes just open up and I said, wait, I don't understand. People have told me that sex is bad, but here I am engaging with this man who loves me and I'm having a great time. Like, have I been lied to like my entire life? Right. And I just became obsessed with learning about sex. And I remember I would go to like professors and I joined the feminist club, and I would talk about it to anybody that I could. Like, wait, I don't get it. But, I was told that sex and masturbation was a sin and that you're a bad person if you do it. But here I am having sex and it feels great. And I feel loved and I feel respected I was just like, and so it was until I was about 23 that I really started enjoying my sexual expression. And then my journey just took a bunch of ups and downs and all arounds. But, I'm fully convinced now that I think, and this has been the case in my story, I think that the things that we struggle with the most end up being the things we become most wise about.
1,000%.
And that's been me. I think all the sexual shame has led to a lot of wisdom, but that wisdom has been gained through fucking up a lot.
1,000%. I mean, to have to go through, and I mean, I was raised Catholic and in a very conservative household. I mean, my parents are still very, very conservative, a lot of saint cards and Jesus photos all around the house kind of thing. And, my sister got pregnant out of wedlock when she was 23. And like that experience, I think for my parents, like really, it was early to that, like mid 2000s, 2009, 2010. And at that point, like that wasn't something that was happening like with their friend groups or with the people that they associated with. And I think that was definitely a hard turn for them to try to like understand it and embrace it and be like, okay, well, like you're an adult. this is what happens. And, at the end of it, you got a beautiful, phenomenal son, which is, great. But it was this fear of having to be like, okay, well, you have to tell mom and dad, like you have to tell mom and dad, like, this is what you did. And I think they knew, we were having sex, but there was no discussion. Like there was never a safe sex talk. There was it wasn't a topic. It was like money. It wasn't a topic that was ever discussed. And I always wonder, like, if we would have been a little more open about that, like, where would our ideals be on how sex is and what it's for and how we're able to express ourselves in it.
Yeah. I mean, I wonder that too. Right. And I don't want to have children.
Yeah.
At least now I'm 34 years old, but I mean, I'm open to that changing. But I do sometimes wonder, like, man, if I had a kid, right? Like, and I imparted the wisdom that I have now, and I celebrated my child's sexuality, and I taught my child all the things. I do wonder, like, what would be the psychological differences, right? Because for me, my journey went like from one extreme to the other. Like, I was super conservative to like, then after, in my mid to late 20s, just became incredibly reckless with my body and my sexual
Yeah.
expression. And today, one of the biggest things, I am a member of SLAA, which is a 12-step program for individuals who, it's a weird name, but Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous. And it's just, individuals that have a really hard time having a healthy relationship with sex and love. And I do wonder, like, if that was different in my upbringing, would I have these struggles that I have now?
Mm-hmm.
Right. The blessing, though, is that I get to support people through that journey because of all the shit that I've gone through. Right.
Yeah.
And yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I mean, and you've been in this program and you were in this program earlier on, you said, in your life. And what was the biggest realization you had during the program that like completely shifted your relationship with sex to what it is now?
Well, I do want to say it's an ongoing process. Like, I feel like every single day I'm just surrendering, right? And so the best way I could describe it is, our brains are programmed to be a certain way. And, based on our upbringing, our life experiences. And the way that my brain has been wired is that I view sex and love as the ultimate thing that I need to be okay. Like, without it, I feel worthless. Without it, I don't feel good enough, right? And I definitely feel it's all the repression that I experience it now. It's like I latch onto it. And if I don't have it, it's very challenging for me to feel worthy and all of that, right? So, for me, I think the biggest revelation I had in this particular program is that, and before this call, you and I were talking about Disney.
Yeah.
The media shows us that romance and love is like the end all be all, right? It's like every Disney princess movie, it ends in a marriage. The guy finds the girl finds the guy, and everything is all better again, right? You listen to the radio, 95% of songs are about heartbreak and love, and I'll catch a grenade for you, and I can't live without you, right? So I think the biggest revelation and lesson that I continuously learn in this program is that partnership, sex, and love is only one piece of the puzzle of this huge life that we have, right? And it's a very important piece, right? And I support my clients in understanding, like, how can you nurture this important piece so that you feel satisfied and fulfilled in it? But it's not the only one, right? We have friends, we have family, we have a life outside of it. So it's understanding, like, how do I balance out having a healthy sexual and romantic life while also tending to all these other aspects of my life that make me a complete human being?
Do you feel like the basis of all of that, from what it sounds like, is like communication, not just with your partner, but with your internal self, and like how you kind of speak to yourself about sexuality and like mentally communicate with yourself and things like that?
Yeah, I always say if I can rename the program, I'd rename it to How to Love Yourself Anonymous.
Hey, We can
Because
rebrand.
that's ultimately what it is. It's like, it's a
Yeah.
program that teaches you how to love yourself and that you don't need someone else to love you to feel loved, right? Um, but yeah, the communication, how you speak to yourself. And one of the reasons also why I think I'm such a sex geek and like why I love
Mhm.
talking about sex, learning about sex is because the act of sex, the energy of sex is a microcosm of all things human. I mean, you think about it. You show up to your sexual space naked, right? Your body your partners see you in compromising positions. It's a space where you're really called to being vulnerable, share your honest self, right? It's the most raw form of human expression is sex, right? So, if you can work on your sex life, if you can work on the communication and being kind to yourself, it bleeds into other areas of your life.
Yeah.
We say like sex problems aren't the problem, it's usually a symptom of something else going on. So,
I
yeah.
mean, and to figure all of that out, and if you want to have sexual integrity, not just with yourself, but with your partner, if you choose to have one, what does that mean in a practical, like everyday sense? Is it the communication with your self? Is it working with your partner? Is it exploring with yourself and trying to figure out like what you like to be able to communicate that? And
Yeah. Okay, so it's so funny, Rachel, for the past 5 years, I would even say the past 15 years as a sex educator, I was always like, my number one sex tip is communication. My number one, everyone says number one
yeah,
sex. And I just had this revelation recently where I'm like, hey, I changed my mind. I don't believe that the number one sex tip is communication anymore because I can communicate anything to you. I can tell you my favorite color is yellow and you wouldn't know if
yeah,
that's the truth, right? So now what I say is that my number one sex tip is relentless authenticity. And that is an internal job. That
yeah,
is an inside job. That's in here, right? So what it means to have integrity in your sex life on a day-to-day basis is not the process. I mean, communication is important. I'd probably say that's like my second sex tip, but
yeah,
my top second. But really it's about understanding, who am I? Like who am I as a sexual and romantic person? Right? Like um and not just like and not just overall like, oh, I'm attracted to men or I'm attracted to women, but like really getting into like the nitty-gritty of like who I am, right? Like how I enjoy being touched, how I enjoy being spoken to, how much emotional availability I require from a partner, right? How do I like being communicated with? How do I like communicating with others? And that is all an internal job, right? And the reason why that's so challenging for so many of us to really tap into who we are authentically and lean into our integrity is because in romantic and sexual relationships, we have this thing called attachment that gets in the way. We have
yeah.
these things, we again, we live in a world where, in my opinion, we breed sex and love addicts, right? So it's like, how do we navigate the mental and emotional stuff that comes up in partnership while at the same time remaining true to ourselves so that when we communicate our needs and our wants, we're standing in integrity and our authenticity and not just, I'm saying this to make my partner happy. Because if I tell them the truth, I'm scared I'm going to hurt their feelings.
And I mean,
Right.
I would
So,
think just trying to find it, like you said, that internal work you have to do, like figuring out who you are to then be your authentic self, that is, that's so hard to begin with, trying to just figure out who you are and what you like. And I know that comes with age and experience and all of those things that we all go through, but like I mean, it's hard. It's hard. Like sometimes I'm like, am I really living my authentic self or am I just doing this because society told me I should, or, and that can be in, my sexual life or my work life, my, religious life, whatever it might be. Like, am I doing this for me? And if I'm not, how do I realize that and then overcome that?
mm-hmm. And that takes a lot of checking in with yourself. I mean, something I recently just kind of like started implementing and thinking about is me, myself, I go, I do this, and I'm sure so many of us do, living life so fast, right? Where you don't take just like a second to be like, wait. Like, how do I actually feel about this? Right? What do I actually want? What do I actually not want? Right. And I just feel like that is so important to like move slowly. Recently I had a conversation with my partner, and he was making fun of me because it was a Zoom call because he's in another country right now. But after we spoke, I just really wanted to make sure that the conversation was productive. So every time I spoke, I muted myself, and I just like was taking notes and taking a few deep breaths. And he was like, whatever, teasing me. But I'm like, sometimes I feel like we just need to like pause, right? But like, hold on, like, how do I actually feel about this? Is this actually okay with me? Do I actually feel like I want to move forward in whatever, this is? So I'll give some examples, because I feel like I'm speaking very vaguely, but like, let's talk about a romantic example and we'll talk about a sexual example, right? So let's say you're in a romantic relationship and your partner really loves going to the gym in the morning, and you actually really want to go to the gym with them, right? And so if you have anxious attachment, you might abandon yourself, wake up at 7 a.m. to go to the gym with your partner, even though that's not what you actually want to do, right?
Yeah.
So you can just like pause, take a deep breath, and say, actually, I prefer going to the gym in the evenings, but I really want to go with my partner. I'm curious if my partner would be open to maybe compromising a day or two in the week so that we can maybe go in the afternoon, meet halfway, or maybe
Yeah.
once a week, like a joint, whatever. And it sounds like such a simple example, but little things like this, if we don't stop and practice the pause, that self-abandonment can lead to resentment, which leads to disconnection, right? It's a very tricky thing.
Yeah.
So it's always like constantly checking in with, who am I? What do I want? And how can I express this, right? In a sexual setting, it could be something like your partner has a kink that they're really into, but you're unsure about it, right? So you might say, well, they really like it. I don't want to hurt their feelings, so I'll just do this thing that I don't feel super comfortable with, right? But if you practice that pause, wait, how do I actually feel about this? Well, I don't really like this, and this about this, but I'd be open to maybe having a conversation where I understand why my partner enjoys this so much, and maybe finding ways in which we can both enjoy this particular act that they really like, right?
Yeah.
Um, if we don't slow the fuck down and like pause and check in with ourselves, then we run the risk of constantly being in situations where we're doing things that we don't want to do just to make the other person happy.
I mean, I think that goes with not just sexual and relationships, like we're doing it all the time. Like, if I accomplish something, then I'm like, I don't ever pause to be like, wow, look what I did. I'm like, okay, now what next? Now what's next? Moving on to the next thing, doing the next thing. And I've never thought about it in like, take a moment and really like appreciate her, like within my sexual self, and being like, okay, this is something like I should take a moment and really sit with and think with. And I think sometimes even with like the romantic part, like you meet a guy, you have one date, and you're planning your wedding, and he's like, I don't know your last name. Because we either moved super, super fast and we're not sitting and like, oh, that was a really good date. Here are the green flags, or the beige, red. There's 5,000 terminologies nowadays of like, this is what I liked about him. I didn't like how he, I don't like that he did talk to the waitress like this, or, but he was there and he was nice. And it has to get really complicated because we're just going so fast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've definitely been there.
Right? Just planned a lot of weddings in my head. It's totally fine. All the great weddings.
It's like falling in love with an idea, right? An idea of
Oh,
who you think this person is versus actually seeing the person as they are right in front of you.
oh no, 1,000%. I say that literal line all the time about the last like long-term relationship I was in, and it ended, and there was a lot of cheating and a lot of gaslighting and a lot of not great things. And I'm just like, you weren't real. I fell in love with what I thought you were and the lies that you created. Like, that's not real. That's not who you were. Like, I fell in love with an idea of a person.
And that tends to happen very often. And
Yeah.
that's a lesson. And, it's funny. Like, I think it's so easy for us to beat ourselves up for these things. I had a friend many, many, many years ago say this, and it brings me so much comfort every time I say it to myself. Life is a backwards teacher. It gives you the test first and then the lesson. And I think the beauty of that is being able to be like, I'm gonna learn this shit by going through it.
That's
Like, all
so
right,
beautiful. I love that.
yeah, right. I know she told it to me when we were like 16. It was like 20 fucking years ago, but I still remember it because I remember just being like, huh.
Whoa. Right? You're like,
Uh,
wait, they all make sense now. Like take a moment.
yeah. So
That's yeah.
right. Yeah. So every time I go through some shit and I want to beat myself up, I'm like, I learned the lesson. It's 20, hindsight is 2020. All right, I got it.
1,000%. And I mean, you do workshops and coaching for, for couples and one-on-one. So how do clients find you, or do they realize like, this is the point where I'm like, I should have a coach like this, or I should try to go through an experience like this? When do they realize, is it something that like they get a lot from friends of friends that are like, oh, we did this to help our relationship or anything like this? And if they're doing it solo, when are they really finding out like this is something I should probably look into doing?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, when I started my coaching practice, I hired business coaches to help me figure out like, okay,
Mhm.
how do I market myself? How do I get myself out there so people can find me? And one of the coaches that I was working with had advised for me to do cold messaging, like on Instagram,
Mhm.
to be like, "Hi, I'm a sex coach," I offer. And at first I did it, and then I started to feel really uncomfortable. And then I thought to myself, and then I had this moment where I was like, you can't tell somebody that they need something if they're not ready for it, right? And
Yeah.
so now I market myself almost very passively, actually, like Google and Yelp. I have my profile up there. People can book a session, they can book a connection call. I post on Instagram regularly, right? And I think the moment at which someone finally says, I think I need help. I think I need a sex coach. I think I need a sex therapist. I think I need support with this. It's when you get to a moment, and this is true for all my clients, you get to a moment where you realize what I've been doing is not working anymore. What has served me for so many years is no longer serving me, and I need guidance to figure out how to resolve this particular issue because I don't have the tools, I don't have the knowledge, and I don't have the understanding of how to tackle this.
Mm.
Right. So, for many couples that I work with, they've, gotten to a crossroads where they're like, should we keep working on this relationship or not? Is this simply like our breaking point, or can we keep going? Right. For individuals, it's just like where they finally are like, man, like I'm just so unhappy with this area of my life. It's really starting to weigh me down. It's ruining my relationships. Right. But what I've noticed that is pretty common throughout all my clients, and I think that this would probably be true for anyone who finally gets to a point where they're like, I need help, is when you'll realize that you'll lose more by continuing to repeat the same patterns than if you decide to change to be better, right?
Yeah.
So, so I think that's pretty much like when people start coming to me and they say, I have this issue and I can't do it by myself, right?
I
And
mean,
that's
and
the beauty
that's,
of,
yeah. And a lot of
yeah.
self-realization and finding that like that inner work that we were talking about.
Yeah, and you can't force anyone there, right? Like we all get there on our own time. We all figure it out. We all finally say, "All right, fuck this shit. Enough is enough. I'm tired of my own stuff. Let's figure this out," right? But no one can get you there but yourself.
Yeah. And if someone's nervous about coaching or just like a little apprehensive, because this is a really obviously very personal experience to have, what would you say your sessions are actually like and how do they go through it?
Yeah, great question. So, um, I well, okay. So the first session, I always just to like, call out the elephant in the room or,
Yeah.
like, I get it. You don't know me. I don't know you. You're here to talk about the most intimate parts of your life. And then I say something like, I've been doing this for 15 years. There's nothing you can tell me that I haven't heard before. This is a safe space. Like, please feel free to speak openly and honestly. And, one of the skills that I've developed through doing this work is talking about really taboo subjects using the same tone as if we're talking about the weather. Right. So if I
Okay.
could say things like, oh, you really enjoy anal sex, but you're not sure if your partner is going to enjoy that as well. Or like, oh, okay, so you're lacking sensitivity in your clitoris and you want to figure out how you can, tackle that. But just the normalcy of how we speak about these things, I think already kind of puts someone at ease because they're like, oh, okay, like this is the place where I can talk about this, right? So
Yeah.
it's like, yeah, for sure, and also like normalizing these conversations with tone, with how we approach them. So if in my in the consultations I'll say, so yeah, I'll say that little thing, let my clients speak, and then just kind of ask a lot of questions. Well, how do you feel about that? Well, when did that start? All of that. And then the first session, because really with coaching, it's the client is the one that leads the way, right? The coach
Okay.
works as a guide, but the client is the one that says, I want to be here. So in the first session, I tell my clients, all right, what are your goals? What do we want to accomplish together? And this is where they really get to play with like, ooh, like what's possible for me, right?
Yeah.
And so that's that, oh, I want to have my first orgasm. I want to be a sex god or a sex goddess. I want to know how to communicate effectively. I want to get over my physical insecurities, right? Whatever it may be. So we lay out their goals, and then I grab their goals and I create their program based on the goals they've given me, right? So they tell me this is where I want to go. And I say, great, let's help you get there. And I support them and guide them towards that space. It's also about understanding like where they are in their journey, right? So we'll use that example that I want my first orgasm. So let's say if, their goal is here, I want my first orgasm. Then I figure out like, okay, where are you in regards to that goal? Do you masturbate? Have you ever had an orgasm? Maybe like by accident. And if you did, like we need to figure that out. How comfortable are you with vulnerability? Do you communicate effectively? Like understanding all these things. So I know, okay, where are we starting? And then guiding them through so we can start developing the tools that they need to have their first orgasm.
I mean, and it's just so powerful to be able to have, I feel like those conversations. And I'm imagining that once you get past that first initial, like a little bit of awkwardness, it's like a floodgate opens where you're like, all right, we're doing like, I'm going to ask all the questions now. I'm going to get all the tea. I'm going to get all of the advice that I possibly can because we're in it now.
Yeah. It's so funny to me when people are like, oh, this is TMI. I'm like, there's no such thing here. Like, give me all the details.
Like,
The more
I'm here
details
for
you
it.
give me, the better I can help you. Right.
And how do you help women, I guess, in particular, not just reconnect, but connect in general with their pleasure without shame or guilt? I think society plays, and we hear it in movies all the time where if a girl's a sexual person, she's a slut, she's a whore. If a guy does it, he's a player, he's a bro. Like he's just, he's spreading his seed or whatever the terminology might be of the day that they're doing. And women are, we're supposed to be more closeted. We get terms that are so negative when we're trying to explore and to kind of figure out what we like. And how do you help women with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Um, well, in the first few sessions that I have with my clients, we don't even really talk about sex. And this is why. I always say we need to figure out what's going on in between your ears before we talk about what's going on between your legs, right? So the
Mm.
first few sessions is all about what's your mindset around sex. It's so funny. Like I would have so many clients come to me and say, I just need tips. I just need tips on like how to improve my sex life. And I say, okay, well, I can't give you tips if we don't address how you feel about your sexual expression, right? So,
Yeah.
for example, if you are noticing that in intimacy, you like, let me think of it. Okay, so I had this client that came to me that was like, I just feel so awkward during sex. The light, I like to have the lights off. I don't like for my partner to see my body. I don't know how to move my body, all these things that she was saying.
Yeah.
And she's like, I just need tips. I just need advice. And I said, okay, well, let's dissect this. I'm like, let's talk about your limiting beliefs around sex, right? Because there's already a lot of limiting beliefs that you have here. So a few limiting beliefs could be like, I am not attractive, right? Or sex
Yeah.
is dirty, or sex is a sin, or my pleasure doesn't matter, right? So then we say, okay, if these are your attitudes towards sex, then of course you're going to show up in the bedroom with wanting the lights off and, wanting to cover yourself or
Yeah.
not knowing how to move, awkward, right? Because your mentality is, this is awkward, this is bad, sex is a sin, I'm not attractive, right? So what we need to do is flip that mindset first. So I guide them through this CBT practice where we talk about like, what are your thoughts around sex? What are the feelings that come up and what does that make you want to do? Like, what are the actions because of it? And then we kind of flip them. So then we try some new affirmations for size. Like, what if you showed up, in an intimacy and thought to yourself, my pleasure matters. I am beautiful. My partner loves me just the way that I am. How would that shift your feelings and your behavior? Right. And so through that, then my clients can really start to like develop like a new mindset and be like, oh, okay, yeah, this mindset is now shifting the way that I feel and the way that I act. So that's how we kill really that the programming that's in our heads and rewire that programming. And then your question around like shame, right? Say, okay, now that we've shifted the thoughts, what are the things that you are too afraid to do? And then we start practicing those things because shame cannot die unless it is practiced, right? So in this example, if a woman comes to me and says, I want the lights off, I don't like my body. Okay, so then what we'll do is we'll probably do a practice with like mirror gazing, like looking at yourself naked in the mirror, getting comfortable with being naked, practicing having sex with the lights on and doing that over and over and over and over again until it finally becomes your comfort zone. I always say, if as a coach, if I'm not making you uncomfortable, I'm not doing my job, because coaching is about getting yourself out of your comfort zone so you can start to develop new neural pathways and start relating to your sexuality in a different way. So, yeah.
Yeah. And helping people push boundaries and like really, I mean, it's an education process too, like figuring it out.
A bunch of tests and then the lessons.
I'm writing that one down. I love that. So all of your sessions are also, and your coaching in general is all virtual, which is super great. So that way, clients have all the flexibility. And I mean, you do that because you're a digital nomad. Yeah. So
Yes.
we're diving into a little bit deeper into your life here. So, I mean, you grew up in a conservative household, you had a lot of like those things, and then travel's become such a big part of your identity, and freedom and lifestyle kind of mirrors the freedom that you're teaching in relationships, which I think is so beautiful. What made you want to live this kind of lifestyle?
Yeah. I've always wanted to travel. Travel was always something that was in my heart. I always wanted to see the world. And I had this experience when I was 20 years old. I got accepted into a study abroad program in Chile, but I had a boyfriend at the time who said that if I went, he would break up with me. And my little insecure 20-year-old self didn't go. And we broke up like 2 months after I was supposed to leave. And that always stuck with me, that I was like, man, I wish I had the courage to leave that relationship. I wish I had the courage to travel. And so when I was 23 years old, my cousin was studying abroad in Spain. And in the summer, she's like, come stay with me. We'll travel around. And so I went and I said, I'm fucking doing this. I went for 6 weeks. And she fell in love with this guy. And she's like, I'm sorry. I think I just kind of want to stay with him in Iceland. So like, I don't know if you want to go travel by yourself, you can. And I was like, so pissed. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, how lame is it that I'm going to be traveling by myself for 3 weeks? That sucks. Turned out to be the best fucking 3 weeks of my life. I was like, whatever the fuck I wanted. I like, it was dope. I was like, oh my God, it was so much fun because I feel like travel, especially as a solo woman, it just like all of your survival instincts kick in, right? Suddenly, like I had to rely on myself. Like, oh shit, where am I? Okay, well, it was like 2012. So I had to look at a map. I was like, where the fuck am I? How do I get
Free
to the
iPhones, guys. Trust. It was a thing.
Yeah, I know. It was like, how do I say this in French? How do I figure this out? And I just loved the feeling of, I have to rely on myself right now. There's no one else around me that I can rely on. It's all me, right? So that always stuck in my head. And then just divine timing. I went through a lot. I mean, I blew up my life in a terrible way when I was 7 years ago. It was awful. But throughout that experience, I realized like I really want to go for my dreams. I really want to travel the world and be a sex coach. And so I started, my business in 2020, January of 2020, and then the pandemic hit. And it was a big thing for me because then everything went virtual. So then I said, okay, once my practice starts booming, like I want to start traveling. And so February 2021, I moved to Mexico, and Playa del Carmen was the first nomadic city that I lived in.
I mean, and what a beautiful place to be able to do that, number one. And I mean, I travel. That's literally that's my life. That's my personality. It's what I do. So I connect with this so deeply. And when you say like, you had to figure it out, that is always my favorite part. I solo travel all the time. That's how I make most of my friends in my adult life. Like my really meaningful friendships have come from travel and like from meeting random people or being on a women's retreat in a country that I'm like, okay, like I can do it. I can go anywhere. I can do anything. I know I can, but like, it'd be nice to go with someone else, or it'd be nice to have this curated so I don't have to plan out the whole thing. I do all the planning all day long as it is. But having that experience going pre-iPhone, pre-international phone plan, because there was no way your parents were paying for that because it wasn't $10 a day, kids. It was so much more expensive. So you didn't have that option and you had to figure it out. Like you had to figure it out and you had like the changes that come, or if you got too drunk in a Munich bar and missed your train, and you didn't have a hostel because you were planning on taking it over. What do you do? How do you do it? And I feel like that's really what has made me the woman that I am. And I tell dads all the time, and I tell girls, they're like, it's one piece of advice that you would give, like to have a successful career and all this. And I'm like, travel. I'm like, the one thing, there's so many different cultures and different foods and all of these things, but the one thing that we all have in common is women, they want to be free. They want to have an education. They want to be able to explore the world themselves and like live a really great life. Like what anybody wants. Like that doesn't change culture to culture.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've had so many wild stories where I'm like, that wouldn't have happened if I just lived in my hometown. And like crazy stories where I'm like, there's got to be a God because I'm so shocked that I survived that.
Oh,
It's like great.
1,000%. I think I romanticized travel too. Like I'm not just like I'm flying business class in a corporate, like none of that. Like I just romanticize what it's like to, not be in a small town in Ohio and like, what is it like to, see the Eiffel Tower glisten or to watch the sunrise in Angkor Wat and do things that, other girls are planning their weddings, or I did some of that, like planning, these stay at home kind of lives, which are phenomenal. And being a mom is amazing. And a stay at home mom is the hardest job out there and all of those things. And I just had such a different view of like what I wanted. Like I wanted to travel. I wanted to do these things that people are like, where is that? Why do you want to go there? Why not? Right now, my top destination I want to go is to the Faroe Islands. The amount of people that are like, wait, where? I'm like, oh, it's like by Norway. Like it's really great. Blah, blah, blah. And they're like, why? Why not? Why not? Like, that's the best question. Why not go? Experience something, do something different. Where's the number one place that you've been where you're like, this was either an amazing experience or like you were just like, I didn't realize I was going to love it so much?
Turkey, Istanbul. I want to
That's
go
a good
back.
one.
I fucking loved it. Oh my God. Istanbul was the shit. I loved it. The people, the food, the energy of that city.
So bustling.
Oh, I loved it. I just remember like I would wake up in the morning and walk to my gym and the air was crisp and you can hear like the call to prayer and like see the water and oh, I loved Istanbul. That was an amazing city. I can't wait to go back. I ate a lot of baklava.
As you should. It's a requirement. Like I pet all the cats, I eat all the baklava and doing all the things. I feel like being like, and you're like fully immersed because you go and you're living a completely digital nomad life. Does it help with your coaching because you're around all these other cultures and these experiences that you're having to to see
That's
things that are so different and not like cookie cutter just in America of what we're doing. But
that's a great question. I think that what travel has done for me is expand my mind on what is possible in this life. I think that we can only be what we can. What's that one? What's that? There's a saying that says like you can only make a reality what you allow yourself to imagine, right? Like you can only manifest what you can actually imagine and think of for
yeah,
yourself, right? So it's just expanded what is possible, right? It's when my clients come to me and they say, "Oh, I want this thing," and they think it might not be possible. I'm like, everything is possible. Anything is possible. Whatever you want to make happen can be a thing. And I think that's the biggest thing that it's done for me. It's like I can't like the fact that I can work online and live in a completely different country and learn the language and eat the food and all the things. Yeah, it just gets you out of this little box that people put themselves in, right? Or that like the world puts them in, and then they think they have to be in this box. Like, no, you can do anything. You can do whatever the fuck you want. Like the sky's the limit, right?
literally.
So,
And I mean, when it comes to, I think I was with a bunch of moms once. I'm always with a bunch of moms. I was with a bunch of moms, and I was just like, I'm the only single girl that was there. Everybody was married. They all had kids. And I was just like, am I missing out? Like, am I going to miss something? Should I be doing that and not girl bossing so hard or like bopping around and doing these things? And one of the women was like, listen, she goes, at the end of the day, you can always have what we have. You can have a kid at 45. You can get married at 60. You get married four times. Like she's like, you can always have this life. She goes, I will never be able to have what you've had. She's like, there's not enough time in my life. She's like, I will never be able to experience the things that you've experienced and seen the things and go to the places. She's like, and I wouldn't give it up for a day. She loves her kids. She's an amazing mom. She's a great wife. She goes, but like, you need to like switch your perspective. And so like, I always think about that. Like when I'm around a lot of moms or married people, or if I go back to Ohio and I'm, visiting friends and I'm just like, shoot, did I miss out? Like, should I have like paused and done this? Am I going to regret this? And then I'm like, no, I'm not going to regret this. Like I've got this life. And I think that's really special.
experiences that not many people can say they've had for sure. And I'm really grateful for that. Like what you were saying earlier about the random shit, like one of the coolest stories I have traveling is that I was flying from Hungary, from Budapest to Barcelona to meet my cousin back in Valencia. The plane was 2 hours. The plane was 2 hours late, and the train broke down on the way to the train station. So I missed the train. It was like midnight. And this random guy that was just like hanging out with me saw that I was alone, and I was like a little like panicking because I'm like, oh my God, like the plane is late. It's like super late at night. I'm by myself. And then my plan was, all right, cool. I'll just stay in the train station all night until I can get the first train in the morning, right? To get to Valencia to meet my cousin. And the janitor was like, you can't stay here. We're closed. Like we're closed and everyone leaves. And I was like, oh my, and I just like my heart sank. I'm like, what am I gonna do? Like I didn't have that much money. Like it was at the end of my trip. It's like I didn't have any phone at the time. There, like I had no fucking service on my phone. And this guy looked at me and he's like, give me 1 second. He leaves and he comes back. He's like, I just called my friend and asked if you could stay with us. He said, yeah. And I'm thinking to myself, I don't fucking know you, but something in my heart, I'm like, I felt like I was gonna be okay. I ended up going to his apartment. He had 3 plates of food. And he goes, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I don't have that much food. I didn't know that it was going to be 3 of us. And I'm like, you're apologizing to me? Like, no, thank you. Right. I slept on their couch. We ended up like hitting it off. Like, they were like the nicest guys from Hungary. And I just think back, I'm like, that was such an adventure, And I'm like, yeah, moments like that where I'm like, it's just, and I ended up staying in Barcelona a few more days. I had so much fun.
I mean, it works out, and you have to be so flexible. I'm always like, when I see people freaking out at airports, and I'm like, it's gonna be like you're gonna get home a day later. I don't know what to tell you guys. Like, you got a buffer here. Like, I have a corporate job, and like, you got a buffer. You got to figure it out. You just have to figure it out. It's going to be okay. And who knows, you might have an amazing adventure.
Yeah, you have to be so flexible. You'll just be like, all right, it didn't work out, whatever. One of the coolest skills I've developed though through travel is that I can sleep comfortably anywhere. I can knock out, have a good night's sleep anywhere. And I love that.
Best one for me was going from Salzburg to Rome on a train. And I had I was young, 23, 24. And I had younger, like teenage girls in this train box, which was fine. I was like, okay, a bunch of girls. Like, that's actually that's nice. Bieber fever. I think they must have sang the album. They weren't playing the album. We didn't have iPhones. That wasn't it. Like, there was no speaker things. Like, they're just singing all the lyrics. Whole damn train ride. And I'm like, I like Justin Bieber. Not anymore now. I mean, you guys have ruined this for me. I'm like, but okay. I'm like, I traded like comfort and safety for this. And I'm like, all right, this was good. This was good. At least I'm safe. At least I'm happy. I'm like, they're not going to murder me in the middle of the night. They're too busy saying Justin Bieber. Saying Justin Bieber. And I love that for them. Oh, so special though. But as we wrap up here, there is, one last question I like to ask all of my guests. But if you could give one piece of advice to your 16-year-old self, what would that be?
I can give one piece of advice to my 16-year-old self, it would be to not ever, ever, ever abandon yourself to keep someone around. I would tell her that her authenticity and who she is good enough, and that she can be herself and still be loved. And that actually, when she is herself and is loved, that's the healthiest form of love. So I would tell her to just keep doing her, keep being her, and that, who she is good enough.
I love that. That's so special. Not tearing up. I'm fine. We're all fine, everybody. No, that's so beautiful. And it's so special to really and that version is it's just as great. It's amazing. And think of the adventures she's going to have.
Yeah. All of the adventures.
So plug yourself, tell everybody where we can find you on your website and, Instagram for your coaching, for workshops, all of that.
Yeah, my website is www.jocelynsilva.com, JocelynSilva. My Instagram is I am Jocelyn Silva, and you can find that on TikTok and YouTube as well.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on and talking, about this subject that I hope everyone's like, this isn't taboo. We should be talking about this all the time. And I hope everybody got something out of it and everybody's leaning a little more into being their authentic selves, because that really is the best self you can be.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much, Rachel.
You're welcome. We'll talk to you guys next week.